to welcome you and our audience who is watching us live today. We are here to celebrate a beautiful exhibition that took months in the making. We are here joined by our American artists and our wonderful curator, who I'm going to introduce soon. But I want to also welcome our artists from Qatar and the exhibition director from Qatar. Just want to give a few words about Katara and our institute, QAIC, as we like to call it. We are here as an organization that likes to programming, connecting the U.S., Qatar, and the wider Arab and Islamic worlds. In this context, we bring together artists, curators, historians, academics, and storytellers. And we offer art exhibitions like today, education programs, and opportunities for scholarly research and interactive experience. Katara, on the other hand, was born out of a long-held vision to position Qatar as a cultural beacon, a lighthouse of art radiating in the Middle East through theater, literature, music, visual art, conventions, and exhibitions. The Cultural Village Foundation promotes human interaction through art and cultural exchange, a project made possible thanks to the vision and leadership of His Excellency Sheikh Hamid, of His Highness Sheikh Hamid Al-Thani and His Excellency Sheikh Jasser Al-Thani. Qatar dedicates every effort to nurturing social development through art and cultural interchange. And we're very thankful for their efforts to connect us with Qatari artists and also to help us in bringing some of the real pieces here in DC and also the digital pieces that we were able to print out. So many of you might ask, why women of the pandemic? Why choose this topic? As a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, the livelihoods of women around the world have been undoubtedly impacted. Although women have always faced challenges in balancing life, work, and all that is in between, the pandemic has required many to make difficult trade-offs and great sacrifices. In the light of this, QAIC partnered with Katara to curate Women of the Pandemic, a reflection on how women artists have confronted the realities of life in a pandemic and the futures they hope to manifest for themselves and their communities. The Women of the Pandemic exhibition recognizes 4 Qatari and 4 American female artists whose creative voices have preserved despite the chaos and uncertainty around them. It began as a virtual exhibition hosted in an online gallery, and today we are thrilled to bring it to our headquarters. First of all, I would like to introduce Dr. Khalid Asalebi, who is the General Manager of Katara, and we have a few words from him to celebrate today.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنه لمن دواعي سرورنا أن نجدد سبل التعاون بين المؤسسة العامة للحي الثقافي كتارا ومعهد قطر أمريكا للثقافة في واشنطن عبر هذا المعرض المميز نساء في الجائحة، الذي يقدم 32 لوحة فنية ل4 فنانات قطريات و4 فنانات أمريكيات. عرضنا من خلال أعمالهن رؤيتهن الفنية والإنسانية، وهو ما يسمح بتبادل التجارب ليس فقط بين الفنانات المشاركات، وإنما أيضا على مستوى الجمهور الذي تابع هذه الأعمال في قطر وسيتابعها في واشنطن. ويأتي هذا المعرض ليؤكد مرة أخرى سعي كتارا الدائم إلى تعزيز القدرات الإبداعية للمرأة خصوصا ولكل فئات المجتمع عموما، واستثمار الثقافة والإبداع في خدمة المجتمع. نتمنى التوفيق للجميع ونرحب بمبادرات التعاون المثمر بيننا بما يساهم في مد جسور التواصل الثقافي والحضاري. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
We thank Dr. Khalid, who's also a member of our board of directors, and now to QAIC's chairperson, Eddie Lohr, and also a few remarks about the exhibition.
Thank you, Fatima. So many of the women I've known in life have had to be resourceful in ordinary times. But in a pandemic, new waves of creativity must come into play that challenge even the hardiest of women, even those who are used to a bit of chaos. At first, the title, Women of the Pandemic, troubled me. How could women be truly creative in film, photography, sculpture, and painting in a time of the pandemic, especially those who have families, children who must be homeschooled, meals that have to be organized and prepared, arguments settled over homework and toys, technology learned and taught, and in general, the myriad responsibilities that go with being a woman at home with others, not to mention the constant multitasking expected of them. Even women artists who do not have families may have other pandemic issues affecting them, such as loneliness, fear of illness, a concern about the evolution and future of their work. But such difficulties can result in the process and focus necessary to take these artists to a loftier place. I also ask myself about women globally, such as the women of Afghanistan. Will there ever again be a moment for artistic creativity in their lives, as opposed to the creativity necessary to conquer fear, fear for their safety, and for their dream of a future with happiness? Many women find a way, and creativity is often the spark which enables them to climb mountains. Creativity seems to be in the very DNA of women who have both responsibilities and difficult life circumstances, as well as those who have perhaps less complicated lives. Creativity allows them to press on through problems by finding solutions. And it is possible that their pandemic isolation has made them even more creative. Creativity springs from purpose. As we look at women artists today from Qatar and America, we will explore the impact of their changed world, their orientations, and their methods, and hope to better understand how they processed any new reflection on the outside natural world, as well as their interior spiritual world. In so doing, we hope to learn how their intellectual life may have been changed along with their work, how the pandemic may have enriched their empathy for others, and how the overall sensibility of their work emerges from new meaning. Enjoy this program and engage in the chat field to inquire and comment. Your perspective is warmly invited. While not all the talented creative women in the world are able to pursue their artistic dreams, here are a few who can and who have.
And with that, I'm pleased to introduce our moderators for today. First, here in Washington, D.C., we have Sandy Wilkins, who is a director on QAIC's board of directors and former founding dean of the VCU Qatar School of Fashion. Also, I would like to introduce Ms. Hia and Kennedy, who also going to moderate the remarks by and on behalf of QAIC, I just want to thank you again for joining us today. And I hope you enjoy the exhibition, which will last until the end of this year. And we will have much more exhibitions and programs to come as well. And with that, to Sandy.
Thank you so much, Fatma, and to all of our guests who have come to see this amazing exhibition today. This is an honor for me because it brings together women artists from two countries the United States as well as Qatar. I spent 20 years there, and it is my home. So without further ado, earlier this summer, to commemorate the launch of an online Women of the Pandemic virtual gallery, QAIC and Katara hosted our first Women of the Pandemic webinar, when we brought together many of American and Qatari artists to engage in dialogue to share their experiences over the course of the COVID-19 pandemic. I'd like to begin today by introducing all of our artists who are present. From left, Anne U. Davis, Alexandra Sherman, and Jordan Wan. Today, I'd love to hear from our artists some reflection on the art then as well as now. First, we'll talk to Ms. Hayes.
يعني أنا فنانة ريفاء الخزاعي. صار لي أمارس الفن من الثمانينات، ومدرسة لفترة 22 سنة. أحب دائماً في أعمال الفنية أستمد أفكاري من البيئة القطرية، سواء في المجسمات، الأدوات، وفي نفس الوقت دائماً بعد أحب المرأة القطرية كدور لها في الحياة القطرية، من يعني جداتنا وأمهاتنا، والوضع اللي احنا الحين فيه متعلمات، لهم دور في بناء قطر يعني. فأحب أدخلهم في أعمال الفنية، وصرت من فترة دائما أرسمهم. طبعا احنا في فترة جائحة الكورونا كان للمرأة دور كبير في مواجهة هاي المشكلة. لها دور سواء كانت كموظفة أو مدرسة أو أم في البيت، كان لها دور كبير. فحبيت إنه يعني أطلعها كقائدة، كإنسانة تقود البيت والمكان وتوفر وسائل الراحة حق عيالها، وشلون تواجه هاي المشكلة. وكانت طبعاً مع الرجل في هاي الموقف اللي يعني كنا فيه. فأعمالي حاولت أعبر فيها عن قوة المرأة القطرية، وشلون صدت هاي المشاكل اللي واجهتنا في فترة الكورونا من كل لها يعني أدوار مختلفة، سواء الموظفة، سواء الأم في البيت، سواء طالبة، يعني كل أدوار المرأة. باختصار هاي الشيء يعني اللي أقوله. إذا في سؤال ثاني.
Now we'll hear from Ms. Hia. Ms. Hia.
Hi. I'm sorry, but I prepared my speech in Arabic.
No worries at all. مو مشكلة. تفضلي.
تسمعوني واضح؟
ايوه.
اوكي. اول شيء بتكلم عن نفسي. حية المهندي، رئيس قسم المعارض الفنية في المؤسسة العامة للحي الثقافي كتارا في استديوهات كتارا للفن. احنا نقوم بعمل معارض فنية للقطريين والمقيمين، وكذلك من خارج الدوحة، وذلك لأن كتارا تعتبر منصة لتعزيز الثقافة والمعرفة وتشجيع الفنانين. أتكلم عن المشاركات الفنانين اللي ما حضروا. أوكي. الفنانة عبير الكواري فنانة قطرية مهتمة في عدة مجالات مثل التصوير الفوتوغرافي والرسم والنحت. شاركت في العديد من المعارض الداخلية في قطر والخارجية. حازت على العديد من الجوائز، أبرزها جائزة الثاني 2004 للتصوير الفوتوغرافي. نتكلم عن أعمال الفنانة. طبعا لوحاتها تتكلم عن الأفراح في زمن كورونا، حيث أن مجتمعنا قائم على العلاقات الإنسانية والمشاركة، حيث اقتصر عدد المدعوين في الفرح على الزوجين والوالدين. فالأفراح ينتظرها الصغير قبل الكبير، فهي احتفالية تجمع كل الأفراد. وبسبب جائحة كورونا وما تم فرضه أدى إلى مشاعر سلبية وحزن، كما هو موضح في اللوحات. تسلسل بما معناه أن العدد في كل فترة ينقص عدد المدعوين، يعني كان مجموعة وبعدها لين ما صاروا بس 4 أشخاص، الوالدين والزوجين. طبعا نتكلم عن الماتيريال اللي استخدمتها الفنانة. استخدمت ألوان زيتية وفحم وباستيل على ورق وميكس ميديا. أوكي. أتكلم عن جواهر المناعي. جواهر المناعي فنانة قطرية شاركت في العديد من المعارض الداخلية والخارجية. من أبرز مشاركاتها شاركت في معرض الإقامة الفنية في باريس 2019. نتكلم عن لوحاتها. لوحاتها تتحدث عن أوراق النخل، مثل ما نسميه بالعامية ورق السعف. أسلوبها تجريدي، حيث تعبر النخلة عن المرأة في صمودها وشموخها خلال الأزمات، حيث أن النخلة لها مكانة عظيمة في مجتمعنا العربي والإسلامي، كذلك المرأة. أعمال الفنانة تتميز بالبساطة وعدم التكلف والتعقيد. بالنسبة حق الأدوات المستخدمة، استخدمت تقنية الطباعة في الأوراق، أوراق النخل على يعني أوراق النخل السعف على الكانفاس بألوان الأكريليك. مريم الخالدي فنانة قطرية وهي حاليا طالبة في جامعة فرجينيا في قطر. تتميز بأعمالها من حيث النظر إلى الماضي بعدسة الحاضر، مهتمة في التراث والثقافة القطرية في أعمالها الفنية. ومع لوحاتها تتحدث عن المرأة في فترة الكورونا، تعبر عن قوة المرأة في الجائحة، حيث أن المرأة القطرية تستمد قوتها من البيئة القطرية كورقة النخل شامخة قوية بالرغم من الصعاب. رمزت إلى الجائحة بالفقاعة. الفقاعة في لوحاتها عبارة عن فترة كورونا يعني راح تختفي. جميع أعمالها ميكس ميديا. كذلك عندها لوحة عن نبات الطرثوث، وهو يعني هذا النبات ينمو في أصعب الظروف، فمثل كورونا يعني، فالمرأة القطرية صارمة وقوية رغم الظروف.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much. So Anne, Alexandra, and Jordan, selecting one of the pieces you created for this exhibition, could you speak on how you felt at the time when you created the piece? And how did that feeling translate into the art? And in reflection, how does this piece make you feel right now?
Oh, start mine? Okay. So I decided to talk about the piece that you can see the first when you open the door into this building, called The Wind Kind of Blue. And it's a reflection. I actually started something new during the pandemic. There was a period of time where it was really hard to get a hold of materials and things like that. So I started to look inside my house for stuff to use. And so I found out that I have a lot of clothes that I can use and deconstruct and put together in a new way. And I actually decided to order a heavy duty sewing machine. And I'm not a beginner. As a Swede, we learned this skill when we were young children. And so I decided to pick that up. And because of the pandemic and just hearing about all the people dying and getting ill, I was reflecting upon my father-in-law who passed away in 2017. And he was very close to me and was sort of another father to me. I moved here when I was 23. Which was 23 years ago this year. He lived with us for the last 4 years of his life and passed away due to a complication of Alzheimer's disease. And I was reflecting now by isolating and having these thoughts, and he lived in this house and there are all these memories from him. And I don't think I ever went through the grief process, and I started to think about how could I do that, and what I do usually to tackle anything is working through it with my art. So I found 2 of his favorite shirts that I took apart, and I created this new shirt that you can see that he's wearing in the piece. And what else? It's also a portrait of, I didn't know anything about Alzheimer's disease before he was around us, and it was a very devastating disease to go through because you're losing the person over the years, slowly but surely, and he's forgetting about you. But the one thing that was amazing to find out was that his love of jazz, and in particular Miles Davis, was something that the rhythm, the music, that never went away from his memory. So that's also, the title is The Wind Kind of Blue, in Russian, saying Miles Davis. And how do I feel about it now? You can see that a little, I don't know, I get a little like emotional talking about it, because I feel like he would be super proud and be really happy of his portrayal. And I feel much better going through it. It was quite emotionally difficult, both sad and happy, but also very difficult just technically doing the piece, because I don't know why I decided to do a huge piece on this small machine. So I had to do it in section and then piece it together. Yeah. So
It's amazing. It's amazing.
thank you.
Yes.
For that.
Yes.
I'm going to talk about the piece when you walk in the room just to the left. It's in a very dark frame. It's called Go Towards the Light. And obviously we all were frightened and nervous and distressed about everything going on during the pandemic. And I started to look back at how people in the past have responded to living through pandemics. Like they got through it. How can we get through that? So I was thinking a lot about that. And so in a sense, that piece is play art out of that tradition of looking at this really. So it's woman's arms pointing towards this very dark and stormy sky, but there's this tremendous amount of light in the center. So it's about the idea of, for me, keeping hope and looking towards the light, even in the darkest times. And of course, it was also a bit of a tongue-in-cheek, go towards the light. Of course, that's what you're supposed to do when you die. And it felt like, oh, at any moment, you could die in this terrible situation. Working on a piece of that scale too, cutting tiny little stars, it seemed to be just the medicine I needed, this complete focus going into microbes world rather than trying to put together everything that was swirling around me. You can't see it on the back, but it's also a bit of a surprise to whoever ends up with the piece. There is a wheel, swirling wheel, which you can see it on Instagram, with a skull in the center, and then two hands on the side. And that was Memento Mori. So this piece was, although it's so dark, it's also this reminder of death, but also a reminder to live and look towards life. I'm fond of that piece. It kind of got me through a lot, and I had a lot of, it was a lot of problem solving when we did work, and it was, it's a 1870 aesthetic movement frame. And you know, in the 1870s, your brother, your sister, your mother might drop dead that evening of cholera. And how did they still live with joy? So I thought a lot about that. Anyway, thank you.
I selected works that I made throughout different stages of the pandemic. So the work I'm going to talk about is the Mandalas. There are 25. I originally made 100 that I started in March, like early in the pandemic, and continued through June. I have a studio outside of my house, and I only had access to my apartment and a small kitchen table. So I was trying to think about what I could make and keep myself busy and continue my livelihood that wasn't paint or glitter or messy and huge. And so I had some paper and I had lots of drawing materials. So I started it as kind of a meditative practice and grounding experience for myself. Kind of like making these little mandalas was like, it was like my moments of joy in such an uncertain time. And as I made them and I started making them daily and more than one a day, I was like, well, let's go to 100, because why not have a goal like that? I also like working in series, and so that was kind of connecting me back to my practice that I couldn't really have in my studio. So it made me feel like I was still working. So it was really fun to make 100 and then see now 25 of them hung up together. It's a beautiful experience to reflect on, that art could take me through that period of time and help me kind of stay focused and grounded. Yeah.
I think you can see that this was an emotional journey for all three of our artists, and the end results are absolutely magnificent. One of our artists, Sarah Ahmed, is unable to attend today, and I have a statement to read on her behalf, speaking on her installation of cosmic veils. I have been living in quarantine only for months. Installing cosmic veils was my first excursion back to the world, even though it was in a very controlled setting. With this work, I wanted to create a space for visitors to transcend all the pain and suffering of the pandemic, the social and personal upheavals of experiences, uplifting movements of joy, beauty, and renewal. It was beautiful for me to witness the excitement and sense of wonder that interacting with the work brought forth in the visitors. The words of Keats, "A thing of beauty is a joy forever," comes to my mind when I look back at it now. When art awakens joy in people during dark times, it fulfills its purpose. And I think that's a wonderful ending to the artist's day. The art world and the artists who inhabit it have also irreparably affected by the pandemic and the lockdown measures. Economic and creative setbacks force artists to change and adapt how they create, display, and sell their work. We extend our sincere thanks to all of our distinguished artist guests today and our partners at Katara, and whom all who helped to make this exhibition possible. We've heard from several amazing artists spanning the globe and have received a glimpse into the realities of their lives over the past year and a half. We hope that all of you in the audience take a chance to visit the gallery, either virtually or in person, and reflect further on the enduring creative spirit of artists worldwide. A very special thank you to all of you for joining us today, those of you in Qatar, those of you that are here today at Keck, and goodbye to